Nanse Tawau, welcome everyone. And I'm glad you're able to take some time to join us for our first hybrid Decolonizing the Narrative. To begin our way in a good way, I'd like to invite our elder Alice Kukwitz from the Minithni community to start us off in a good way.
Ambostits dagun sawa isnietsepats nangaha wedu henkibihna ambani stomaste hamad itsin nichi menehpa ikta iska mankutsin nichi barbni isnietsepats. Good evening. I want to welcome each and every one of you here this evening in Minehpa, the traditional territory and land of our Yiska Nakota people. This place, this area has always been a healing place for our people. Our people have lived here for thousands and thousands of years. And my mother would often say that her aunties would refer to this place as heaven on earth because of the surroundings and how these mountains were always our sacred places. Here we came to seek visions when we felt imbalance. The hot springs provided a place, a safe haven for our ceremonies that were held in prayers. These valleys provided the food that we needed and the medicines. And the lakes surrounding this area were places where we went and sought healing. So this place has a very sacred connection to our people. And today it's an honor to welcome you to the Banff Centre and for the Banff Centre to host this event. I, as an Yiska Nakota grandmother, mother, very proud to be asked to be part of this event, especially when the event and the guest here tonight is from our own Yithka community. And I'm so proud of all our young people who are striving today to decolonize and lead that process of decolonizing and presenting a different positive narrative of our people in Turtle Island, or Widatanga, as we refer to this great island. So with that, as per Yiska protocol, I've been offered tobacco. When we're offered tobacco, tobacco usually is not given to us. It's given to our spirit helpers, our grandmothers and our grandfathers, and all the spirit beings whose sacred space we are on today. And so with that, I'll say a prayer in my Yithka Nakota language. Hai no niwakane no ake nangaha no amba amado huasti inga kubinencho ha. No nechi minerpakta ihno ngitamni hejabike. No ne mankuchine do huasti gina. No nago was nechi jajangesh kisnimi. Mankuchine hagichidabikechi. No hibihina nen hino atejamiga. No nago intrahangi no yabiktini daigi diche bichin. No inganingi simens diwakani. No togana pagia yaminis. No inchasta watejaga durangini. No inchikparsia. No inchiknuskia dainchina fusteinchina. No was babyga unchakuni. No da hoinage abichin hachis. No zina. No nangu no umpaktusane nangahambane. No ambahiziha chaining yaps. No nintawagaribi wachiunchay aminchia. No iskabi hingechabine nidin. No yado soshkashies ya nangabits. No ne umpaktusane. No induked inkubits inkushibin mtungashibin. No yahene oha tiagit nangabitne. No nangu mininkade minehpa. No nemne nechako no ne perdane. No indukene inkubits. Isnies ngeding yabits. Snies.
Tiniki Ganistomiten for the prayer today and welcoming us in a good way. I'm Janine Wendolf, and I'm the Director of Indigenous Arts here at the Banff Centre. I've been here for 5.5 years, and prior have lived in Treaty 4 Regina area, where I actually first became familiar with the Stoney Nakoda AV. So I actually had met Soloman prior to this event, and so I'm really glad to be able to invite him and Nic out to join us tonight. Today we're actually hosting our very first hybrid version of Decolonizing the Narrative, so while I acknowledge everyone here in the room with us, I'd also like to acknowledge that we are opening it up to people online. So if you're not able to join the next one, now you know you can hop online wherever you are. So I really want to thank Nic and Sol for being part of our test pilot hybrid scenario. And our hope is that we can share a wider reach and continue to foster the relationships that we started with our audiences. So we first were online for many years. We did 1 year in person. And actually, Josephine, my supervisor, was like, why don't you bring them all together, the two audiences? And of course I said yes. So definitely wanted to be able to continue fostering the stories. I did tell Nic and Sol that I don't read bios because they introduce themselves naturally, because we might sit there with chiclets for like 5 minutes while we get introduced. So I want to actually welcome you up to, are you doing your presentation from there, or is someone up here?
I think straight from here. Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay, let's get this going then. I'll hand it over. Let's give them a round of applause for joining us tonight. Louder.
Is this on?
Yeah. Check. Nice.
I also put decolonize instead of decolonizing. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. This is our Sol and I's second talk of the day. We were speaking previously at the Trudeau Foundation earlier because they happen to have their cohort here, their end of year cohort, and we ended up speaking. So if we're a little scatterbrained, please excuse us in advance. So a little bit of artist biography. My name is Nic Latulippe. I was born here in Banff and raised in Canmore my entire life. I currently live in and out of Vancouver, and Sol and I started a program rebooted a program called Through the Lens, which we'll get into in a little bit, which has brought us back here into the Bow Valley, working with the local communities of Minithni, Canmore, and Banff, and the youth in high schools between the ages of 15 and 18. So a little bit about my artistic practice. I actually went to university to become a lawyer / political lobbyist, and then shortly after university, I kind of realized I wanted to be doing more grassroots programs and kind of I wanted to impact my community in a more positive and more fruitful and grounded way. So I think that kind of led me towards artistry as a full-time career. Soloman, being from here as well, has mentored me and brought me with him on this journey with regards to establishing myself as an artist and kind of creating a sense of voice for myself, which has been fantastic. So I'm going to run through a few, projects that I've been working on in the past few years. My first one is These Days, which I started during my university career at St. FX in Nova Scotia. It was a huge community-oriented school, and by that I mean it was a party school to some degree. But, the community-oriented portion was a huge tie of alumnus in terms of just a very strong and poignant community where everyone could gather very frequently. And it kind of set myself off in terms of creativity, because being in such an academic space, there wasn't a lot of creative opportunity. So I kind of wanted to create that for myself. So I ended up starting to bring my camera around to different parties and different events and gatherings with other students alike, and using my camera in terms of interacting with people and friends and colleagues in kind of just a way of documenting this kind of nostalgic era that I felt I was living in already. Hence the name These Days. There's a funny office quote I tend to reference about living in, not knowing that you're living in the golden age before the golden age is past. And this book to me was a reflection of that. So over probably a 2.5, 3 year period, I collected about around 3,000 analog photos just of kind of my community in and around St. FX, and was just photographing my friends, how they were, and kind of these different points in my life. This was my first publication, so it was fully self-funded, and I ended up selling about 300 copies in the first 2 weeks, and I only did a limited run. I just wanted to make sure that my friends all had copies too, for memory purposes, and for them to be able to bring a piece of university back home with them. It was just a huge tie, and it was really lucky that this book happened when it did, because my graduation year was the COVID year. So we were actually at this event just the following year. Everyone got an email saying that we had to go home and not come back. So it was really nice to be able to kind of share these photographs with my friends and provide a way of kind of immortalizing our time and our space together. That's a pretty funny one too. So my following project after that has been surrounding ranching and rodeo culture in Alberta. Last summer, I borrowed one of my friend's trucks, and I went in and around southern Alberta during the rodeo circuit for about 3 weeks, and just kind of slept in the back of the truck and photographed as much as I could. Being around this culture as an Albertan too, I think has just been, it feels like a very strong identity, having been born in the Rocky Mountains and being around here and having friends in and around kind of this type of Western culture. I think it was something that really was kind of calling me a little bit. So I've definitely been in and around that. So it's been really nice to interact with family and friends and kind of interact with this community too, that I've been also longing to learn much more of, because it's a never-ending learning process when it comes to this. So this is at the High River Rodeo Grounds. It's pretty incredible to see in person too, in all these different types of sports. One of the rodeo clowns, which is pretty sweet. This is during branding one of my friends out in near Dog Pound. I think we branded almost 150 cows or something like that day. So, it was pretty pretty incredible experience. Now, one of my biggest projects these days has been towards India and my South Asian heritage. Both my parents are here. Hey, Mom and Dad. They both did a fantastic job raising me in terms of learning my heritage, in terms of my French-Canadian side, but being isolated in Canmore and being one of the few families who are visible minorities, I guess, it was really important for me to take a step back and actually try to take a step forward and learn about my South Asian culture. When I moved to Vancouver in 2021, I think that kind of started the ball rolling in terms of learning about my South Asian heritage and my South Asian culture, especially because I was around it for the first time in my life so consistently. What that led to was working with a lot of South Asian families and South Asian community members in terms of essentially creating a thesis of a project of how South Asian culture, when it comes to Canada, has a very strong traditional and cultural heritage where parents are instilling these values from back home, but also wholly keeping like these traditional and core values at a center of learning while also allowing kids to grow up in Canada with a huge influx of westernization. What that kind of has contextualized and what has brought up in the study so far, because this is going to be a long-form project for me, has been the emergence of like a newfound South Asian Canadian identity and how that looks. This is only a few photographs from this project, but I have been working on it quite a while. And what that has led to as well was my trip to India last year. I essentially brought a backpack with like 4 changes of clothes and about 300 rolls of film. And for about 7 months, I just kind of traveled in and around the country. And this was my introduction, at least my official solo introduction, because my family had the opportunity to send me when I was 13, but I felt the longing of going back ever since. So last year, that was that time for me. And what that's kind of spurred is a long-form photographic analysis of India, but specifically the Mumbai train system, which to me is probably one of the most incredible things I've ever witnessed in my life. Mumbai is a city about of 120 million people, and it's a 25-kilometer radius, which is insane. And specifically with regards to the Mumbai train system, I find it just to be absolutely captivating just based on the fact that it is the quickest mode of transport, and it's one of the very few things in India that is wholeheartedly, in my opinion anyways, unbiased and it's non-chastised behalf on caste and financial disparities. It is the fastest mode of transportation, it is the easiest, it is the cheapest. Anyone can access it, and I think just the walks of life that have been coming in and around the Mumbai train system is something that's unbelievable to me. So I am probably going to go back to India towards the end of this year to kind of go back to Mumbai and work on this train system project again. But that's kind of where my work has been leading me thus far. So yeah, Sully, I'll let you take it over for a bit.
All right, yeah. Oh yeah, Nick. What ditch? I'm Saul. My Estonian is really bad. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm from here. My mom's right there. Brenda Chiniquay. Wait, that's the wrong slide. Wait, actually, wait, before.
Oh, dang, I got one more project. Hold on, guys.
Before that. Forgot, I messed up this thing.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, yeah, so remember how I said we were scatterbrained? So, like, this project was actually after Saul's introduction on the last one. Okay.
I left it in and I messed up.
Okay, so, last one. One second. So the Canmore Tipping Project has been a project I've been working on since 2020 during the COVID year. Specifically with regards to the commodification of Canmore and the housing crisis that it's facing. Specifically, we got asked to do this Trudeau Foundation talk because of the housing crisis, and one of my friends from university who actually did the foreword on my book in the interview portion, he's doing his PhD with them right now, and he reached out to Saul and I to speak on behalf of this project. So I got a lot of facts to throw your way right now. So in terms of Canmore's affordability housing crisis, it's pretty it's second highest in the country behind Whistler. Whistler, you can, in terms of per capita and for the highest amount for a home. It is the highest in the country in terms of condos, which is $800,000. The Canmore affordability rating in terms of buying a home is you can have a joint income of less than $250,000, which is 30% less than the national average, which is ridiculous. And a 2-bedroom, you can still apply for affordable housing in Canmore with less than $150,000. The living wage in Canmore is $38.80. That's not what anyone's paying. One of my friends, Adam, he actually went through the Canmore job posting board, and I think out of the 130 something jobs that were posted there, I think there were like 4 or 6 that were paying living wage. So that's caused a huge crisis in terms of Canmore's affordability, especially being as a safety net for Banff's non-developable land, specifically because it's managed by Parks Canada, whereas Canmore is not. So my project essentially focused on, documenting my friends and my families who have gone through these housing crises, including things like Spring Creek, seeing my friends being forcibly evicted from their homes in Spring Creek and being, not having any alternatives in terms of housing. That was a very, very poignant and big thing for me, especially because my godmother essentially raised me partially in Spring Creek as well. So part of this has been kind of documenting what's been going on in Canmore in terms of its developable land, specifically with regards to some of the major developers. I'm not going to name any names, but this also includes, over 1,000 people speaking in public hearings in Canmore on the denying of the growth of Canmore, but essentially being vetoed by the province once that municipal government has made up its mind in terms of a no decision in terms of development, and then in retrospect, these developers suing the 4 council members who decided to vote yes for $161 million. This is not just a problem in Canmore, it's a problem everywhere, but Canmore is an extreme example of that. Part of that also has been the wildlife corridor, especially with regards to the Yellowstone to Yukon. Because Canmore is essentially a mountain range having eastern and western access with regards to wildlife, and flowing from north to south from the Yellowstone to Yukon and being directly in the middle, the expansion of Canmore is a massive, massive risk towards the migration of elk, grizzly bears, and wolves, being at the pinch point of this entire, Rocky Mountain intact ecosystem. Karsten Hewer, who was one of the bigger conservationists of this, was particularly speaking about how this was like one of our last opportunities to preserve this intact ecosystem and its migration period. Pretty funny. Lena and Tony are here actually. We were having breakfast the other day. Tony's been providing a lot of insight for me as being one of the forwards in terms of wildlife overpasses in the Bow Valley, and obviously for Banff National Park. So it's been really nice to kind of connect with locals on that aspect. Specifically with this project too, the point of it is to stir conversation and also gain knowledge and insight on this, and kind of work towards a stronger and more comprehensive understanding of what is at stake. So that's a little bit about the old Canmore project. Okay, now Saul can rip it.
Sweet, hey. Sweet, yeah. So I'm just gonna put this up for a second. Yeah, so I'll talk about this project in a second. I'll just introduce some of the stuff that I do. I don't really have any primary art forms. I use photography a lot, but I interchange between like filmmaking, music, teaching, photography, and anything under the umbrella of art, I guess. Do a lot of gardening too. Build a lot of gardens for cities. If you guys need a garden. I also work a lot in harm reduction. I worked in drug user advocacy in Vancouver's downtown east side. So I've done that for a number of years. Yeah, so I'm just going to talk about this project, I guess. This is Wahiamba Zaza Tapa. I don't know, like, I asked some people if this is the correct way to say this, like chasing sunlight. Not really sure. I asked a lot of people, and they said it kind of means that. So trying to work my language into a lot of the art and projects that I do, because I think more like Stony is a very beautiful language, so I try to include it. So this is a project I've worked with in like from work spanning 2015 until 2019. And this is one of my first projects graduating that was successful. It includes some poetry from some of my friends. I was going to ask Nick to help me read some of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to rip it, Nick?
Sure. Yeah, side note, this is probably one of my favorite photographic books, and it's funny, I get to sit with the guy who did it. Dead trees, dirty knees, and the cold always calls you home. Little res kid walking, head held high, pants too long, they drag under my heels, soak wet pant cuffs.
So yeah, some of this work is, all this work is in Treaty 7 and Treaty 6 territories, and just whenever I graduated, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. So I just ended up taking photos for like 3 or 4 years. And this is a culmination of that. And I was struggling trying to figure out how to combine them. And during that time, I met my longtime friend and colleague, Jazz Whitford, who helped me. We were kind of in a codependent art relationship, a bit inseparable, and all our work is together since this. It's crystal clear lakes and dirty tap water. It's spam and deer meat. It's auntie's home and auntie's missing. It's Jesus cross and medicine wheel, bolo ties and beaded medallions. It's pine after pine after telephone pole, bone knife and paper plate, vast plains and cousins in cages, oil slick cement and soil, endless pain and perpetual gratitude. Yeah, so I work a lot with different artists to help show whatever it is I'm trying to show, I guess. So it's kind of like a conversation between me and other artists, if that makes sense. You want to do this?
Ancestors who whisper into dark shadows. Glass panes reflect urban identities, big, wide indigeneity. I finally found the words to say, but you always have your back to me.
That's my mom right there. That's my nephew. Just sitting on the floor. So much of me has become formless, cloud-like flesh holding memories in blood. The past is water, and the future is smoke. And where I stand now is soft and broken, all around this open space. I so desperately want home to be a place. And this is Huchimachach. I was talking to my cousin, Jarrett Tuyingman, and he was telling me about how he felt about this word, like how we say goodbye. There's no word for goodbye in Stony. It's Huchimachach. And we were talking about it, and he said that it kind of means like, I'll see you again. And it means like either in this life or another life. So it's never like when you say goodbye, it's not goodbye. It's just like, I'll see you again. And I really felt impacted by that conversation. So then I was thinking about the ecological destruction of this land and all over North America and the world, I guess. And just thinking about like saying goodbye to the land, but like see you again, I guess. I don't know how to describe that in a way that's different than that. Nick, you want to read this?
The land in the sun, bluebells, bleeding hearts, California poppies, and grape, how do you say hyacinths? Yeah. Sweating, bleeding, and gasping for air in the smoke, weeping and crying and sobbing in mourning. Born of retribution and satisfaction madness, born in pain, romantic. You don't say goodbye, I'm not going anywhere. I'll see you in the morning.
You can do it again.
Sure. Bloated bodies floating in the water look no different than distant islands in the dark. Scale don't matter, and my nose is too cold to smell any rot. Pride disgusts me, get comfortable and forget me tomorrow. A bear riding a horse's back like a man would, sauntering along, bare robe on man. Red handkerchief, blue handkerchief, white ties, berry-dyed. You promised them you'd give them a proper burial. Ground's too frozen hard. Those men wanted a proper burial. They should have got themselves killed this summer. A promise? Good as a scratch and wind blowing in the dust, down the gravel edge and gray-edged asphalt.
So I worked with my friend and colleague Jazz Whitford with writing those poems, and they painted on these photographs of our land and their land, and a bit of Vancouver. Yes, they're from Secwepemc territory, and I'm from here, obviously. So these are just some of the photographs and paintings from this series.
That was one of the first photos we took together, actually.
Yeah, me and Nick were climbing up this mountain on the island. Okay, this one's, I don't even, again, this is what I think it means. I was talking to my cousin, talk a lot with Jarrett, and, you know, have a lot of conversations of what I should name things. Tira Giktiyavich. And I was asking him, I was talking to him about nostalgia, and I was trying to figure out a word for that. And this is the word he gave me. I think this is what it means. Missing home and the way it used to be, I guess. Like, it's like a ghost or something like that. Something that's not real. So a lot of these photographs are portraits of people and then where they're from. And I was kind of riffing on Edward S. Curtis, in which he would steal regalia after massacres and things like that, and then put them on people that weren't he would put them on people, other nation members from different tribes, and dress them up and pass it off as ethnography or whatever. So I just wanted to show people, Native people, dressed how they want to be dressed now, and then where they're from now. Yeah. And this is Barbara Weiss. She's recently passed away. She's my friend's grandma, and this is where she's from. She's Squamish, so this is just from her res. And this is Quetzal Tattle. She's Stolo. I just took a portrait of her in my garden. And this is where she's from. This is my friend TJ. They're Secwepemc. And that's Kamloops area. Specifically Adams Lake. And this is where he's from. There's me.
Look at that guy.
This is where I'm from. Here. This is my grandma Wanda. She's Pomo, and she's from San Francisco area. So this is her holding her gourds that she made, and this is where she's from. It's Mount Canoctai in Northern California. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Let's give a hand for Saul too, because he did it for me. Yeah. So part of the reason we have been so lovely gifted this residency, thanks to the White Museum and the POW Foundation, and obviously the Banff Centre, has been because of this program that Saul and I have rebooted as of, I guess, 2 years ago, technically, now. Through the Lens is a photography program that existed from 1997 to 2017 in the Bow Valley, spearheaded by one of the old White Museum staff members by the name of Craig Richards. When Soloman and I were in high school, even though we are 3 years apart in age, we actually went through this program at Canmore Collegiate High School. This program runs in 3 separate schools in the Bow Valley, Canmore, Banff, and Menithni. It's funny, I actually knew of Soloman's photographic works before I even knew him as a person. And this analog photography specifically, this program teaches and provides students with a film camera, as much film as they can shoot, and we have a darkroom in each school. This program was kind of quintessential, I guess, towards Saul and I's artistic growth, especially because the Valley is incredibly athletically focused. And I went through athletics when I was a kid, but you know, having a creative outlet to something I found so much joy in was essentially kind of shaping. And I don't know, Saul and I were chatting one night, and we were just like, we should reboot this. And you know, two years has gone by, and I guess, well, I mean, a year went by, we got the program going, and that was 2 years ago, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Also, it went more like Nick was like, "What should I do?" I'm like, "I don't know. Maybe do the Through the Lens program again."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they won't give me money for that. And I was like, I bet you they will.
Yeah. He's like, send an email to this person. I sent an email to this person. We got a budget. So yeah, so we ended up rebooting thanks to the Nancy and Wim Powell Foundation, and obviously with the mediation of the White Museum, because historically this program has gone through with them, and I don't think it would be, you know, we want them in that conversation. We want them to be doing this with us and facilitate with us. So we essentially kind of spearheaded this program, again, in terms of providing students with an opportunity to have like a little bit more tactile learning with regards to film photography. So within the period of 5 months, essentially from the beginning of February to this time of year now, Saul and I drive back and forth from Vancouver every 2 weeks, and we teach the students here how to photograph. They learn how to use a camera. From that point, they understand the mechanics of it and how to develop their photographs with chemistry, like they do with celluloid film. And then in addition to that, we encourage them to take their film and then print in the darkroom, aka enlarging prints, enlarging their negatives into prints. Yeah.
What you're seeing now is just photographs that the last year's cohort took.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Saul and I, so part of this residency right now is that we're actually printing and in the process of scanning and digitizing a lot of the students' negatives from this year's cohort, and as such, we haven't fully completed it yet. So we thought we would throw up some of our students' work from last year, which has been great. We even have a student from last year with us here too today, which is great. Yeah, so this is from our 2024 cohort of students. We had approximately, we had like 33 students last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 33. And what's nice towards this program is that we provide the students with an exhibition at the White Museum after, so they have an opportunity to exhibit and display their photographs. In addition to a small publication, which we usually provide to the White. Towards this year, we are planning on doing the exhibition at the end of May, so if any of you are still in town.
End of June.
Oh yeah, excuse me. We're at the end of May right now. Yeah, end of June for our exhibition at the White, and there will probably be copies of publications and stuff too, so you guys are welcome to pick one up and bring it home. Yeah, if you want to pitch in a little bit, I guess part of our teaching and stuff too.
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about how in which we teach, and thinking about people who've taught me, and reflecting on, just figuring out how I teach, I guess. And thinking about my mentorship, I guess it's very informal. I think that a lot of the ways in which I've learned how to teach and learn from people the best way is very non-linear. And so whenever I was in high school, my cousin Jarrett Jingman, him and I would just drive around Morley and just film random stuff. I didn't realize that how much he taught me whenever I was young, and like how much that impacted however I teach now. So it's just like me and him rolling around town, taking photos of stuff, and like figuring out how to make movies together. So we made a number of like horror movies and documentaries and strange films. We also taught a lot of kids claymation. So Jared and Amanda and I and a number of other people started the Nakota AV Club together, and that's like a organization that's like very, very loosely run, very informal. So we started this organization whenever I was in high school, just to support people in Morley, youth, and whoever wants to make a movie. We'll help them make something, like whatever it is they want to make. Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about however he taught me how to be, I guess, as a Stony person. And I'm just trying to collect my thoughts here. How do you feel? However, I'm helping you, Nick.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's funny that Saul says this. Just in terms of being taught by Jared, because I think maybe consciously and subconsciously, Saul has been actually doing a lot of the same with me, which has been really, really nice. Because I think part of this nonlinear teaching has created essentially we don't really handhold in our program because it's fully self-directed. So if students want to succeed in this program, I think a lot of it's up to them. If they want to develop their film, they want to print, like they got to do it. And the thing with film photography and analog as well is that the failure rate sometimes can't be high if a mistake is made, right? So if you're not paying attention or perhaps you miss something, and Saul and I, we're still there and we're guiding students at every step of the process, and any questions they have, it's answered. But, if for example, you don't do the correct steps in terms of developing or something, then next thing you know, your last 2 weeks of work is gone, right? It's ruined.
Yeah, it's really hard, actually.
Yeah, it's really hard.
You gotta pay attention a lot.
But, I think like one thing that this program taught me initially, and one thing that we kind of teach our students though, is that although that the failure rate is high, when it comes to this, when you do it properly, the gratification that you get from rolling film out of a wet, water-soaked tank is kind of like incredible. It's an incredibly gratifying feeling, but being able to teach in a non-linear way and letting questions come up and interests come up when those questions naturally and organically arise compared to like a structured and strategic lesson plan has been incredibly valuable for the kids. again, like these kids essentially picked up a camera. They pick up a camera and learn how to do all of this within 4 months. Like, it takes people years. But, you know, not following, I guess, a structured system and listening to what they have to say rather than imposing it on them has been, I think, incredibly invaluable towards their learning process as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nick put that a lot better. Also, yeah, it's like very hard to shoot film and to do it yourself and develop it. And there's a high failure chance. But it's like also no big deal. You can just shoot another roll. It's fine. Like, it's not serious. It's just photography. Like, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, the kids, like, maybe they should, if it's bothering them and they can't focus on their schoolwork, maybe you can take a break from taking photos. It's fine.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing, like it's no pressure when it comes to our program too. Like, we're running, like in Minithini, we run during school hours, and Canmore and Banff after hours, but a lot of times too, we understand that we don't want to be putting them in a position in terms of being, like, having to compromise whether to pick one thing or the other. So like, if you got football, go ahead. If you got rugby, go ahead, you know? If you still want to do this, they find the time. You know?
Also, we'll come in another day, you know?
Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, we make ourselves available when we're here for the 2 weeks. Like, if kids if they want to do it some other alternative time, we'll show up for them, right? But, you know, not having a regime almost in terms of structured learning, I think that it's benefit because we're working around their schedule rather than us working on theirs. Or, sorry, I said that backwards, I think, didn't I? But you guys know what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's also like interesting to work with teachers that are used to teaching the way you would in an institution, because it's obviously we're in school still. Yeah, just an interesting thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with that, I think if you guys have any questions, we'll open the floor to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Testing.
It's a nice dog.
First of all, let's give them a round of applause for their presentation. Well, first I'd like to acknowledge the parents. Anybody who knows the talks that I've been to, they always hear me quoting my mom.
Yeah.
So that oral footnotes and acknowledgement of those who came before us and where our teachings come from, it comes out naturally in how we speak. And when they're in the room, they get picked on because we want to make sure everybody knows our parents are here. So actually, I just also wanted to acknowledge that the Stony Nakota AV are now 10 years old and celebrated their anniversary because I was invited out this fall. So let's give a round of applause for that initiative. Yeah, why I really love that initiative is when I was actually, I think I was like maybe 6, 7, I actually wanted to be a filmmaker. But when I was growing up in La Ronge, they actually had no opportunity for me to explore that path. So I ended up, well, I was going to be a bush pilot, or at least I wanted to be a police officer, and I ended up in business admin for a few years until I actually took a Film 100 class, and that actually opened up my journey into film. So to have those opportunities in community for the youth is so important. So I don't know if you acknowledge that impact, but I can see long-term how that will feed into the next generation. So yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that, and then also your initiative here with Through the Lens. So because we were talking a bit, I want to know a little bit about the genesis of this partnership, and because that was kind of what I find really interesting about your work and working together. I know you have other partners that you work with, but why is it important to continue fostering this relationship that you started?
Yeah. Go ahead on that.
Why is that important? I think that I think why it's important is because of reciprocity. I think that if you help somebody, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to describe that.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of,
Because we went through the program and how much it gave to us, I think the reciprocity of us giving back was just as equally as important.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not so good with the words.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, but also, having, providing the opportunity, I think, for the Bow Valley kids, again, like, they don't have that creative outlet usually, and because the Valley is so athletically focused, and, I think it's also great to bring, photography to Minithni as well, because, like, some of our best work of our best students, like, they make some amazing photos, ridiculous photos, and sometimes they're some of our most keen students as well. And I think part of that is just being able to share our own passion with them, and then I think when they see the fire that it brings to us, it's almost reciprocated as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. The values that are the work that's being done, I think that's really integral. And especially being an artist, I think I always default to my values when I question whether I'm off the path or not. Can you identify a few values? You mentioned reciprocity, but others that you would say centered in your practice?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I don't know, Saul and I were talking a little bit earlier when we were at the Trudeau Foundation, I guess the power that the camera holds, but using it for, I guess, just knowing that you do hold so much power with the camera, but knowing how to treat it with just as much respect as the subject, making sure they're comfortable, making sure the environment is okay and comfortable, and kind of working alongside that.
Yeah, so I'll just give a little context to what Nic's saying.
Thanks. Yeah.
So we were just talking earlier about documentary filmmaking. I've made dozens and dozens of films. I can't even name them all. But I've worked on a number of documentaries, and oftentimes directors might hire a director of photography, and he or she might not be that in tune with the community in which you're making a documentary about. And documentaries can be, in a large part, most of the ones I've made are incredibly sensitive topics, and require a large amount of care in the communities that they're being filmed in. And I saw a number of horrible things done by crew on documentaries I've worked on. And whenever I was younger, as a trainee, and really made me think about how horrible a camera can be, and it's kind of why I've wanted to teach how to use cameras, because you can also instill respect for the camera and others that are being in front of it. And I just wanted to try to instill that in people that I teach. Yeah.
Thank you. I will open it up to the audience. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to join in. And also, if you're online and want to join in, we can take your questions in the chat. Until then, I'll keep the conversation going. But we do have a question back there, so.
Oh, I have a microphone for you. Hello. Thank you so much. I was wondering, since you both did the Through the Lens program, like now that you're sort of facilitating it, were there any changes you wanted to implement from the time that you took it that you're now being able to do with the youth?
I mean, there's a lot of changes. We had to kind of DIY a lot of the program, especially last year. So a lot of equipment nowadays is quite old. There's no new things being made for film cameras. So we just had to work with antiquated equipment and try to fix it all. So it's a little bit technically worse than when we started.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about that was that, like, because this program was so established for 30 years, Canmore had a full darkroom in their school, like an actual rotated door, full sink, full water hookup darkroom in the school, and like probably I think like a year and a half before we even showed up, like that thing was dismantled. So Saul and I like walked in there, we're just like, okay, like we're starting fresh, like. So we're like walking around the school and we're just like, hey teacher, you remember us? Can we use your sink like twice a week after school?
Yeah, Morley had a full darkroom in there too, but it was also torn apart.
Yeah, and the White Museum, the students from Banff would walk to the White, and that's what they would use that darkroom. But Craig's not there anymore, so there's no darkroom in there either. So
yeah, that one was just torn apart too.
Yeah, but we're modernizing our program every year. Like last year, we essentially went to Bow Valley Basics and spent like $500 on like carton board and like blocked out a window in a room, which turned out it worked. Carolyn remembers it worked.
Yeah, we blacked out a room. We took out all the windows, or like we just covered it in cardboard.
Yeah, but this year what we did was we actually found 7-foot standing darkroom tents, 4 foot wide. Then the students could actually just zip up a tent and just pop in, and not to mention it was a lot easier for the schools because if they ever did need to remove them, it's essentially just taking a tent up and down. So it's all about adapting to the space that we're welcomed, but also wanting to establish the program enough where we can create a space for students to come and work when they need to. I guess that's kind of leading us towards like maybe possibly setting up a darkroom in the Bow Valley in the near future and having alumni from the program and students as well as creatives in and around the Bow Valley to be able to have steady access to this equipment.
So what Nick's talking about is a conversation that you jumped the gun there a little.
Yes, sorry, my bad.
What Nick's talking about is Nick and I and some friends of mine are trying to figure out how to create a center, I guess, center and organization in the Bow Valley that's dedicated to analog photography for the community, and not just photography, maybe filmmaking and what have you, but we just are looking to create a space, like an actual physical space,
Yeah.
Where in which you can do that and having someone be there year round.
Yeah. So to answer your question, we're constantly modernizing, publications every year, different equipment, and just kind of getting it back grounded again. Yeah.
There's something really wonderful, though, about the tactileness of like working through the process. I took, I don't know if it was Film 300, but we had an experimental film class, and I was so excited. It was my first time developing film, and it was overexposed. There was nothing there. I had 24 hours, so what I did was I painted on it.
Nice.
And I got 98%. They were like, you are so creative. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
But really, the reality was, I learned from my mistakes.
Yeah.
And then ended up using hand-painted film in another project, but more thoughtfully and intentionally. But there's something about actually just doing it and not knowing if it's going to work out or not. Like, there's almost a sense of trust.
Well, I mean, even so, like, I think that's a big reason as to why we're seeing such a strong resurgence with our students in terms of analog photography. I think, like, in an ever-evolving digital age, I think a lot of people kind of, they lust for physical things. Like that's still a reason why like you don't see a lot of kids with like a Kindle or something like that. Like having an actual book is like 1,000 times better. Or like in the same way that, a student is, or even anyone's like collecting vinyl, it's like probably like one of the best physical mediums in terms of being able to collect and have it and having a piece of that artistry in your hands. Which I think is a big reason as to why students are gravitating towards film photography as a whole as well.
Yeah, I like that first poem. That was the one with the pants. I was literally walking with my shoes, and my pants were wet walking around campus.
Yeah, me and Jazz
I was like,
love,
that's neat.
we love res kid isms.
So I'm going to take a look. Is there any questions coming? Oh, nice. There's a few. Allie will come by. We need to get her a workout here, so keep putting your hand up. Just kidding.
I think I just saw my mom lift her hand up.
That is your mom.
You mentioned that you were invited to speak at the Trudeau Foundation. What was your interest in hearing you speak, and why Canmore was?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess the main thing was, again, because he did the preface of my first book, it was, I guess, the interest of hearing from two locals, I guess, from Canmore and Banff, particularly, specifically the Housing Crisis Project. I guess he was following along for many years, and then being that they had their PhD candidates, I guess, in a room all together and wanting to talk about kind of like, I don't know, global economy and like different policy and stuff like that, I think this project just naturally came to mind. Because of that, you know, Canmore being such an extreme example of the housing crisis too, I don't think anyone else was, as far as I know, no one else is documenting it artistically or speaking about it. So I think it was kind of nice to approach the Trudeau Foundation in an artistic manner and like being able to show them the direct impacts via photographs with factual and statistical information. Yeah.
Yeah, Nick did his homework also.
I did a lot of homework, yeah. Yeah.
Nice. And we got a couple more hands up.
I'll start over here.
I have a couple questions. One for Nick. Are you planning on having an exhibition of your Canmore housing crisis photographs in Canmore?
Yeah.
And the second question is for Saul. When are we going to see more Stoney Nakoda AV Club films?
Oh man, Jared's working on one. He's writing a slasher, I think. Or maybe it's a werewolf movie. I don't know. Hard to say. I don't know. Yeah. It's in development,
You know,
though.
as kids making movies, I used to do that when I was a kid. That's the best.
I mean, he's not a kid. He
Jared's
has
not a kid
two
anymore,
kids.
though. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, Jared's not a kid anymore.
Maybe his kids will be in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in tying back to the Canmore stuff, I think like funny enough, when this Trudeau talk happened, I think it was kind of a real jump start for me, like kind of to get back into it, and I've been feeling pretty juiced about this project, which is great. But you know, I've talked to Arts Place in Canmore. Got some, you know, if anyone in the audience knows anyone at Arts Place and kind of wants to help me get a foot in, yeah, there you go. I'd honestly love to show the work. And then, the Canmore Heritage Museum reached out almost like 3 years ago, but never heard back from them. And other than that, like the problem, I guess, just Canmore's artistry space is the exact same photo of three sisters in vermilion on some metallic Costco printed. Sorry, so, yeah, you know what I mean. It's just it's personal opinion, but you know, I'm trying to do some work here. You know, trying to do some activism. You know.
I mean, there's other mountains out there?
Yes, believe it or not, you know.
Awesome. Kimiko?
All right. Perfect. So I'm going to take a little zag on the conversation here. So I was curious, with your sort of teaching mentorship journey, you were talking about being having that non-linear, self-directed teaching style in an institutional environment. I'm curious what surprised you in terms of successes or challenges in sort of your experience diving into that space.
I think Nick and I are very different people, and I think that where I think some students gravitate to learning from me and some gravitate to learning from Nick. I think we've learned that that's maybe, how do I describe this? Nick, you want to jump in there?
Yeah. Well, no, it's
You want to finish that sentence?
Yeah, it's fair. It's funny, you know,
thought.
like Saul and I are extremely different, but we're also very similar in like random niche things, you know. But you know, like with Saul saying, you know, some people gravitate more towards him and some people towards me. I think like, you know, like for example, I'll use this. Like when people want to join the Through the Lens program, him and I, we spoke about this at length about how we don't want to have any requirements or barriers in terms of them wanting to join. When I was in high school, I'd be fine with writing a half paragraph or whatever about why I want to join. Saul wasn't that kid, but you know, that's okay. And you know, learning that Saul is exhibit A of that, you know? Just because he doesn't, like, you know...
Because I don't do work?
No. Like, no, but
I'm
like,
kidding, I'm
it's like, you know, some kids, they don't have time to put in that legwork, or they don't maybe have that ability, but that does not mean that they should be, I guess, they shouldn't have access to a program like this, right? So, you know, like something like this where we do like a lottery system, so anyone who wants to join, we'll throw them in like a lottery pool, and everyone should have free and fair access or a chance to do it. Yeah.
What I would try to finish off with to say with that is that we're learning some of our own strengths and weaknesses in teaching and trying to lean into the strengths of each other, if that makes sense. Yeah. And we are asking the kids more and more what they need and what they want to see at the program, and we're trying to help them with whatever resources we have. Yeah, there's a lot of...
It's perfect.
Yeah. Time is the biggest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you talked a lot about Jarrett, and because I had worked with Jarrett coming here at Indigenous Arts, you know, one thing that stuck out that he actually shared with me, because I'd invite him every year to come on a panel, he said, Janine, I know I'll always say yes if you really want me to. He's like, but there is so much talent in our community, you can get other people to come speak. So he was very generous in like making sure that I was aware of all the talent with the Stoney Nakoda AV and the artists. So, you know, I thought to me that was really a nice way as a teacher to, encourage that. So I thought, you know, that's really nice. And partly how I am familiar, because I also am a filmmaker. A lot of my stories were getting paired alongside the Stoney Nakoda AV. So when the Regina Public Library screened Res Dog, they screened Stories in Our Bones, which is a film I did with my kids, because I collaborate with my kids and my family. So that's how they kind of seen the thematics of the work. But I was on there and I was like, you know, my mom loves her res dogs. I was going on because I was responding to the panel. All of a sudden I got a text and it was like my mom online. I heard you talking about me and my res dogs. And so, yeah, that family component and how they're built in with community, you know, to me that's so natural because there is so much gifts that community brings to the table. And so, yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that because that stuck with me in terms of like working with community. And actually, this is a really nice event. We got a lot of community out here. So, okay. Is there any more questions? Oh,
wait, before that, I'll add.
And then the other mom.
You can watch Nakoda AV clubs on our website. I don't know if it's .com or .ca, but if you just Google Nakoda AV Club, it's there. A lot of our films are made by youth and kids, so they look as such, just a heads up. It's very cute, I think.
Yes.
I'm Bawatich. I'm Saul's mom, and I just wanted to point out that, you know, Solomon has been doing this for a long time, since he was little, as I can remember, but part of the AV club, and I remember my nephew Jared was the one that was heading that, and they were making home movies, and, you know, they were always out in the community somewhere in a abandoned house doing horror movies, and and I remember telling them, you know, why can't you do something else? Why do you always have to make horror movies? And then a lot of the kids get involved in the community, just coming out and just being part of it. And then I guess just watching him grow as he, you know, in his career, and when he graduated from high school, he moved to Vancouver, and he went to art school. But after he graduated, I feel like I felt like I lost him. Somewhere along the way, I felt like I lost my son. But then again, at the same time, he had a very busy career, very busy life, and we don't get to see each other much, and we get to see each other on, you know, Christmas holidays. Just recently that we just started connecting more because of this project that they're doing right now. And then, you know, they would all gather up at my late mother's house, and, you know, they'll all be there, you know, going through all of their editing and all. So I would just see them pop in, say hi, and, you know, it's almost like in and out But I've also seen how this the AV Club and how their projects have been growing. But it's just amazing to see how this is the first time that I've attended one of his events, because we've just so busy with our lives that, you know, he's always saying, "Mom, I'm doing this, I'm making a film over here," or, you know, doing a music video over there, or I'm doing a documentary. It's always something else. Like, it's really hard to keep up with him sometimes. And then, and I said, "Solly, you know what? You got to do a documentary for us, you know." And I was just bugging him about that. And Watson here, he's a relay, Indian relay horse owner, and he runs the relay in the summer. And I was telling Saul, "You got to do a documentary on this. Please, please make time for us." And so somewhere in his busy world, you know, we did talk about it already, and hopefully somewhere along the way, you know, we can feature that and show that and showcase that to everybody, because it's just amazing. It's something new that's out there that's being revived, you know, because our community is a horse culture and we love our horses, and, you know, it's just part of our lives and how sacred they are to us. But at the same time, you know, it's just something, it's a sport that's just being revived. And, you know, you'll see it in Calgary Stampede and all. And I was telling Solly, "You got to come and watch," and all that. So we're just right in the process of that. But you know what? I'm just so proud to be here and, you know, see both Solly and Nic together. And yeah, I'm proud. Thank you. Sneers.
Thank you. My name is Watson Chiniquay, and Soloman is my stepson. So I just wanted to say that I'm really proud, you know, sitting up here as a leader and also an elder. I'm really proud of one of our young people, you know, seeing him like this, and all of you. I'm proud of all of you. And it's so good to see our people, you know, doing what you guys are doing. So, and I just wanted to say, August 24, 25, 26, I think that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're having a relay race in Morley. We have a race track.
You gotta check it out.
And so we're gonna have chuck wagons, and not the pros, but I think it's a B division, chuck wagons, and the evenings will be relay racing. So you'll see my team there. Come, you're invited.
I went last year. It was amazing.
Nic and I are working on a documentary about Watson's relay race team. We're in the process of finding funding. So if anyone knows anyone.
Yeah. Also, if anyone unfamiliar, I guess, with Stony Nakota relay racing, you know, it's essentially bareback horse exchanges with a relay team. It's fast, it's crazy, it's unbelievable to see in person, and they're also going to be doing it, I guess, with kids and stuff like that too in the near future with miniature ponies, which is pretty fun. Yeah, but yeah, if anyone does know anything, definitely let us know.
Yeah, we're looking for funding.
We're definitely trying to fund funding. Yeah.
There you go. You got the official invite, so they'll be looking for you.
Yeah.
Chris?
Just very quickly, first off, I want to thank Watson and a group of other elders who joined us the other day, including Alice, for we had a pipe ceremony to begin the process of opening our new Indigenous Cultural Center, so we're doing an opening for a bunch of the elders who are as part of the leadership program at the end of the month, but then we will be having an open house at the end of June. And that'll be a more broad community open house. So stay tuned for information about that. We'd love to welcome you into that space. But thank you for beginning that process with us. One of the questions that I had was about the way that you define youth, and is it between a certain age group, and if so, is there like a tiered process that people go through where, as their skills develop, there are different cohorts within the program, or are you actually doing it just with the whole group as a whole?
We work in the high school, so grade 10, 11, 12. So
Ages 15 to 18.
So if that answers your question, in regards to through the lens, that's what that's like. If that answers your question.
Yeah. All ages, I guess, are learning together, though. We don't really do any tier systems and stuff like that. You know, once you're selected for the program, if you're chosen, you know, through the lottery system, then everyone just sits in the same room together. So I think it's also good for the collaborative approach in terms of, you know, not isolating anyone in terms of ages and stuff, because I think a lot of times, you know, whether you're younger or older in terms of high school careers, they actually tend to feed off each other a lot creatively, which is good.
Also, some of the teachers are also participating in this, so they also get cameras.
Yeah, we know, and it's great though too, because if the teachers participate, they're just as excited as the students. They've been learning kind of alongside them, and I think they're just excited to be doing this, which is really cool. It's a lot of fun to have teachers engaged with us just as much as the students are.
I would argue 44 is youth, but just because I turned 44. Did I see a hand up there? Oh, two of them.
Hi, guys. Do you find that there's a difference between the pictures that you guys were taking when you were going through the program versus what the kids are putting out now, just based on times, influence, leadership?
That's a good question.
I think so. Well, Craig used FP4 as it's a specific film stock.
Yeah, it's expensive now.
Besides that technical thing, yeah, I think, how do I describe this?
It's very different, but it's also the same to some degree. Like
I wouldn't say so.
I mean, yeah. This is where the differences thing comes in.
A lot less steel wool.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's true. Like, I guess there are definitely influences, though, in terms of, like, what's empowering students in terms of what they want to photograph. But, you know, like, some things, like, you know, like the old go-kart station by the Morley gas station and stuff.
That's
like
a classic.
That's something that I photographed when I was in Through the Lens that actually was exhibited in the museum, and we're still having students, like, this year going back and photographing it. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, so like I don't know. It's you know, it's funny to see these similarities, but these massive differences as well.
Yeah, I think also the differences would be every year. So it's like I think there's a small sample size. I think maybe we'd figure it out in a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I got a question regarding whether you've, either of you have had discussions or projects or considered it around your family and your lived experience for both of you of colonization. I know, Nic, your family's from the South Asian diaspora.
Correct.
And so is mine. I know they're first generation. I hear it from my parents a lot about what their grandparents and then their experience was. So I'm curious for the two of you, do you guys have those kind of discussions about familial history or created work or are going to maybe?
Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat that last part?
You may create work. Do you guys have discussions about your lived experiences or your family's lived experiences of colonization?
Yeah.
How do I answer that?
Yeah. I think it's pretty tough though too, because you know, Canmore and Minishni are very, very different places. You know, some good, some bad, and it's funny because they're 15 minutes down the road from each other. You know, but Sol and I can still relate to a lot of things growing up because we grew up in the same place. But in terms of family experiences too, I think they're just so vastly different that, you know, whatever we have gone through in terms of our youth, we tend to teach each other a lot. And I think that's a really nice thing. So I guess in terms of collaboration, I think like part of this partnership too is also like personal and artistic growth that's shared. Yeah.
I think a lot of also decolonizing is just chilling out. Not everything's so damn serious.
Yeah, you know, here's me just like, I'm gonna answer this so carefully, and Saul's just like, dude, chill out, you know?
But like, that's exactly what it is, though, too. You know, it's like being able to have these informal discussions and like also treating the students like they're adults. You know, like, you know, they should. You know, part of the program is it's chill. You know, like we'll be there after school if you want us. If not, we'll make another time. It's fine.
Yeah. Also, if you want to come back next week, it's fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
You got things to do. Go do those things.
Yeah. Exactly. Like
Be here next week or in a few days.
Yeah. Being on structured, regimented systems is pretty Western. You know, so like kind of approaching that teaching with a completely different angle, I think, has been advantageous not only to our practices but the students as well.
That was kind of my question, guys. Nick, didn't I teach you grade 9 drama?
Hey, what's up, Horvath? How's it going?
Oh, hey.
So I think I took your sister to sea kayaking in Clakewood Sound.
Yeah.
So, hey, good to see you, boys. That's kind of, you just kind of answered my question. I remember Through the Lens when I was at the high school. I left there 10 years ago. But I remember Craig did amazing things and with the kids, and Through the Lens was such a great program. And kind of what I wanted to ask was, you're both kind of young, hip guys. Like, what was the big significant differences? Like you said, you kind of answered it already. So now I'm just gonna talk.
Well, no. I think it's a
the differences, between Craig's vision. I mean, pretty much the same vision, but styles, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, like, Sol and I are also approaching this of like two teachers of color in the Bow Valley. That's already something that's not exactly expected. And then in addition to that, both being under the age of 30, I think is kind of a big deal, you know? I'm 26, I think, yeah.
29.
Yeah, but you know, like, I guess like being closer in age to the students too has also been, they've been able to relate to us a little bit more and also like explore different forms of topics without feeling like they're going to be judged. I think that's really nice, though, too, because I think we're seeing a lot more vocalized work from students as well. Yeah.
I had an idea for a question from a previous one, so it's kind of like just jumping back in. But first I want to say how incredibly proud I am of both of you two. This is amazing. And just touching on like the topic of family, in my language we say "icharibachore," which means once we meet, we are family. And I see that both in both of you and in your teaching style. So my question was, what was the biggest thing that you learned from the youth from this program?
That's a good one.
I have a non-serious answer.
Yeah, you hit that. You hit us with that first.
So it's they listen to the same music we listened to in high school. I thought there would be like future different music that's.
Yeah, literally, Sol and I, we had this huge debate in the car. We're just like, I'm just like, Sol, they definitely listen to this artist. Sol's just like, no way they do. We asked like each class, and it was like 75% majority that they listened to it. And Sol's just like, they're just like us. This is crazy.
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, in terms of what I've learned from the students, I think what I've learned, I think, is just like, man, it's so cool to look at different places with such fresh eyes again. You know, like different things in and around what they're photographing and kind of what they see as a good photograph has been really impactful in my like curation process. Because, you know, before this program, I would like look at photos and I'd be like, I wouldn't take a second look at it. But from the way that they've shaped it for me, anyways, I think it's made me kind of look at even my own work personally, like completely differently. So I think like having that reflection is really nice.
Yeah, I might add to that a little. It's funny talking to some of the kids and people, other artists, and that live around here in regards to photography. Everyone here is like, "Oh, I have no idea what to photograph," and I do a lot of traveling, and I don't really take photos when I travel, and I only really take photos here. I think there's a lot to look at, and there's a lot of things to photograph here, and I think that it's just like, it's out there, you just gotta go find it. So whenever I'm talking to kids, they're like, I don't know what to photograph, it's just the mountains. I'm like, what do you mean it's just the mountains?
Take your camera, go for a walk.
Yeah, go outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to, we'll wind down. Or is there a question?
One more question.
Well,
I feel like we need to take this because this is Nick's dad.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Parents
my
get
God,
a
I
privilege.
get the double duty parents question today. That's crazy.
Like that's something that interesting when it's more a comment than a question, is when I was looking through the project you guys did and the pictures, there's a huge amount of historical and documentary about this. I think it was a bit what you asked before, and I think there's a value in this because you saw old picture of Canmore, pictured from different people from different places. And I can see in the future a lot of value into this. And that's my first comment. Second comment is mostly about the student pictures. When I saw the picture and your style from before, Nick, well, we know each other a long time, right? So I saw a huge amount of searching and making a more an artistic picture, looking to the world differently. And I think what you guys succeed to do with this program is inspiring that to your students. Because when I went to the exhibition, I was looking at some picture, I was totally floored of some picture that were mistakes. I was thinking about that Japanese girl went to Japan and that picture that was totally out of focus, but it was amazing. So there's that art part of the picture that you did inspire, and a perfect picture is not necessarily the best picture. And I think you guys succeed in pass that on to your students. So congratulations on that.
That's really beautiful. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks.
That's very nice.
Well, I just wanted to share that I'm really excited and that we're able to do this hybrid event together. Yeah. And just the importance, like, you know, I was always taught, because I'm so far from where home is, that you take those teachings and learnings and you come home and you keep coming back. So I'm grateful you're able to come back and join us here in the Bow Valley. And Through the Lens is a very amazing project, so I can't wait when we're doing 10 years, if you got 10 years in you.
We'll see what we got in the tank.
And yeah, just to thank everyone, because, you know, there's us up here, but it's not an event without the audience. So I just wanted to thank you all and everyone online. And just to note, like in my Cree culture, we also say moistus, because we don't have a word for goodbye. So it's see you later in this time and the next. So yeah, when you shared that, it really hit home with my Cree identity. So just wanted to thank you, and thank you all. So until then, we'll see you again later, and next time we'll have Leah Dorian joining us for the Decolonizing the Narrative. Yeah, go ahead. You can.
For that, we'll just give a big thank you to Dawn Saunders-Dahl for helping facilitate some of this programming of the Through the Lens, and us having a residence here at the Banff Centre. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks, guys.
I also want to thank my team, Patrick, Rafi, Angela, Ali, for your work today and helping make this possible. So big thank you, and make it home safe.
Thank you.